Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Aquarian Radio at aquarianradio.com. And I'm your host, Janet Kerr-Lesson, with my co-host, the incredible Karen Christine Patrick. And today we're going to interview Eugene Braxton, and we are bringing you an episode of Paranormal People, because our subject today is very paranormal-ish. Let me tell you a little bit about Eugene, and then I'm going to bring on Karen, and then I'll bring on Mr. Braxton. Eugene Braxton is an American mystic, researcher, writer, and he lives in Philadelphia. Throughout his entire lifetime, he has had certain advanced esoteric experiences that have given him knowledge and abilities that would otherwise have taken many lifetimes to attain. Albert Einstein said that all knowledge comes from experience, and he was right. Without learning from experiences, scientists can't gather the data they need. When it comes to near-death experiences, often left without the necessary information. Those who remember anything usually just recall a flash of light or a faint sound or voice. But Eugene Braxton could remember almost everything after he nearly drowned in a lake at age 15, which followed years of lucid dreams, visions, and other strange encounters. He's been honing his skills as a mystic ever since. He explores amazing experiences that he and others have had, everything from UFO sightings, probable abductions, different levels of consciousness, and more. Today we're going to discover insights on the length of time between death and reconsciousness, what happens at the moment is why meditation is normal in the afterlife, and the changes your mind and spirit will undergo as you approach and pass through death. And I have more information on aquarianradio.com. You can just navigate to aquarianradio.com and click on the Eugene Braxton link for today, and you'll get much more information about his experiences. And right now, I'm attempting to get poor Eugene on our show. He keeps dropping. There he is. But before I bring you on, Eugene, 1 minute, I'm going to let Karen speak. And Karen's been watching some of your YouTubes or something like that. So, Karen, are you with us today?
Yeah, I was kind of reading up on Mr. Braxton's material and listening to some of his other interviews. And I'm pretty excited about it because it just gets into some nuts and bolts about some things that most of us have a lot of thoughts about. We don't quite get what's going on when things happen to us or our loved ones. Definitely passing back and forth between the spirit realm and back in your body is very mysterious for most people. So I liked some of the things that I was hearing, and I'm super excited to talk to him today.
Well, I am too. I've been working with ghosts all my life, and I don't really talk about it too much, but I've just been a contact experiencer, and it wasn't always extraterrestrials. A lot of my life has been with people that are in between lives and on the other side, and I've had some famous people contact me, like Michael Jackson, and recently, what's one that just died? Just Dance guy.
David Bowie. You were talking about David Bowie to me.
Yeah, he recently contacted me from the other side, and maybe I can get some hints from Eugene how to work with these people, because it's like, you know, I talk to them, I work with them a bit, I've done therapy, but I'm not sure what more I can do. But I'm going to bring on Eugene without further ado, and here we go. I'm going to turn on your link. Hope it works. Cross your fingers. Aloha. Eugene, are you with us? Is it working? I love when we have technical difficulties. I'm going to try closing some other windows, too. I was navigating around.
I think it means, to me, I take it we're going to have a great show.
Oh, yes.
We gotta
always have a great show.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Eugene, are you with us? You're still circling. I'm not sure what's going on. Well, while we're waiting for Eugene's button to keep talking, or maybe we're going to have you call back in again.
Yeah,
but
well,
go ahead, Karen.
Well, I can talk about, he talks about near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. And I know my daughter won't mind me talking about her near-death experience. That was something I was going to ask him about, because my daughter had a life-threatening surgery on her back, and she actually expired on the operating table and was brought back and told me all kinds of interesting things about her experience. And then she, 3 days later, had something somewhat like a stroke and couldn't talk for about 6 months to a year before she kind of was back to normal. And then she forgot about it for a long time, because this was over 10 years ago. It was about 12 years ago, actually. We started that conversation again, and by the time we started talking about it again, she had many experiences, paranormal experiences, to tell me about. We really hadn't talked about that before, and we opened that door. And so she told me some very interesting things. And the thing about my daughter is she's developmentally delayed, so she's very honest. She's not going to make up a story. She's going to tell you straight up what she's seen. And I've often thought it'd be interesting to write her story down, because she's documented was expired on the table. I'm not exactly sure how long she was out of her body, but she went to the other side, or went through the tunnel of light, as you might call it, and she said she met some angels and stuff, and she said one of them asked her if she wanted to come back. So she actually had the choice whether to come back or not, and that was really important to make a note of, because her surgery was very, very involved, and so she was going to be coming back to a long recovery no matter what happened, and quite a bit of pain and difficulty. And I feel like she knows that. I feel like at the time she made that choice that she knew that. To me, that she made the choice to come back, because I'm not sure I would. I've had a lot of tough times. I kind of wish I could, beam me up, Scotty. I have that feeling, like I'm ready to go already. But she's disabled, but her life has touched a lot of people during that time and after. And I think she's just got her own mission here on Earth, and she just wasn't done with her mission. So, that's how I understand it, is it seems like some of us have a sense that we've got something to accomplish, and if we start to cross over before it's sort of our time, that you get a chance to come back and finish whatever it was that you were supposed to do. And this has happened to me in the last couple of years. I've had a couple of times where, over the course of my life, but in the last couple of years of times where, am I done yet? I kind of wonder. And I'm still here, even though I've been through some life-threatening stuff myself. So I don't think I'm done yet. So here I am. So I know a lot of people have had that feeling. Yeah, have had that feeling when they've gotten to that choice point. And at least 2 times prior, I had a infection. I was in isolation ward when I was 19 years of age. Got very, very sick, and I was in a illness cluster. And I was laying there feeling like a feeling of like, do I want to stay or not? I really had that choice myself. And my eyes were closed, but I felt like I was talking to somebody sitting on a chair right beside the hospital bed I was in. And this person I was talking to but didn't look at was letting me know I had more to do in this life. I was only 19, right? I had more to do in this life. And I forgot about it, and then a couple of years later I remembered that, and I asked people who that was that visited me. I thought maybe it was a chaplain or somebody, And nobody was there. Nobody was there. They weren't allowed to go in my room. It was an isolation room, so nobody was there. But I really felt a presence or somebody that I was talking to letting me know it wasn't my time yet. And so that sort of stuff fascinates me. We have Mr. Braxton with us. Am I by myself?
Hey, is she there? Oh, why can't we hear you? Oh my goodness, what is going on?
Wow, this must be really important. So we're going to ask all of you listening and the good spirits around us to help clear the space for us to do this. Sometimes
I'm turning on his mic and let me try this.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see if this will work.
Sometimes when we have this level of difficulty, I just sort of meditate and try to bring a white light.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on. I have something. Eugene, are you able to speak?
Yes, hello?
Well, yay!
Okay, great. We're going to use this other one. Woo! We tried a couple things to get you on.
Can I call you Eugene?
Yes, that's good. Is this Karen or Jenna?
I'm Karen, and I was just telling people about my daughter who had a near-death experience. Actually, she was in an operation, and she crossed over and was given the choice to come back or not, and she came back. And she's a disabled person that's had a real interesting life experience that touched a lot of people. So I was just telling that, that is your area of what you share with people about OBEs. I listened to a radio show where you talked about out-of-body experiences.
Yes.
And also my daughter, who had this really profound experience during a surgery, was well documented how long she was not with us and then she was brought back. And what she told me, that she went to see the angels in heaven, and one of the angels asked her if she wanted to come back or not, which is a profound question because she had about a year-long brutal recovery from that surgery. She was affected mentally by it. It took about a year, like a stroke, to come back, and also her body went through a lot of discomfort and whatnot. And then she was coming back to a body where she would be in a wheelchair. So to me, her choice to come back was really profound for me because I knew that she was accepting the idea that she would have to feel pain and have to be in her body that isn't quite working right. And so I just was going to ask you about that because I kind of feel like she has some kind of mission still, something she has to do.
Yeah. How old was she, and what was her injury?
Well, she was born with spina bifida, and that means the spine was not correctly formed, and so the lower back area, she had a couple of vertebrae that would just not support her weight of her upper body. So they put what they call rods in her back, which is fuses the spine and gives support of the whole spine for that weak area. And during the surgery, she had a latex allergy, so she was quite a case for all of the surgeons involved. She had 3 surgeons. And basically, when you draw medicine from a little bottle, it got a little tiny bit of latex in it. It went through her line of her IV, and she had a major anaphylactic reaction on the table while she was opened up for surgery. And unfortunately, I didn't know about it till it was over. They did not tell me that because they didn't want, it was about a 9-hour surgery. It was very, very involved.
Wow.
And she was resuscitated, and they finished the surgery. But afterwards, for about 3 days, she kept telling me these stories about what happened to her when she went out of her body. And then about the 3rd day, she had a reaction to the whole experience, and her body kind of shut down. So she had like a stroke symptoms. She couldn't talk and everything. And she totally forgot about it for like a long time. And then later on started remembering it again. And then she herself has had some, she's almost like a medium. She's had very profound paranormal experience, including that one of the care centers she lived in, the ghost of the woman who lived there before she did, who passed away in that room, came and visited her. And the woman was very confused because she had Alzheimer's when she was alive, and she didn't know she was dead. And my daughter is kind of fun. She's a sweetie. She's pretty brutally honest. It's a lot of young people with, developmental delay. As she finally told this old lady that she described perfectly. She completely freaked out her caregivers because she described this woman as wearing a blue bathrobe with pink fuzzy slippers. And she finally said, "Now you've passed on. You need to go to the light. This is my room now." That's very funny. That's the way she is. Yeah, this is my room now.
How old was she?
She was
Karen,
9 years old. Yeah, she was
good.
9 years old because we had to wait till she was as fully grown as possible, because once they fuse the spine, it doesn't grow anymore. And she was about a year recovery and just has a little bit of aphasia, which means when you ask her a question, you got to wait an extra second or two, left over from the stroke-like symptoms. And then she's in she lives in a facility, and they take really good care of her. I hurt my back, so I couldn't take care of her directly anymore. And she's now 28, and I never broached these topics with her because we both had a belief system, a religious belief system. We didn't talk about that kind of stuff. But finally, I went through my own awakening experience myself, and I started talking to her. And boy, I just found out all kinds of things about her ability to speak to spirits and to angels. She believes that she's in regular contact with a particular angel that has watched over her, which I believe it because of the, coming through so many medical challenges. But I was going to ask you about that. Get your opinion.
Well, with the angels, I always believed that there was some extra help from the invisible world, that when we needed it, we could get it. Like, not from God, but messengers or angel, an invisible force that would help us. It was like secondary to God. And I had a girlfriend who kept talking about it, and then I finally started listening to her, and I seen that she was right. And it was like in 97 or 6. And what I had thought was extra force or spiritual help was actually beings of protection, like what we would call angels, yeah. So I do believe that now, and it's been since 95, it's 20 years, yeah. And because I've seen it all my life, I just didn't call them angels. So with that, I definitely believe.
You can tell us a little bit about how you got into this, about your life. You had a drowning when you were 15, but when did this start for you that you were
Okay, say that one more. Can you say that one more time?
Could you tell us how you got into this type of being a mystic? Did you come to this body, aware and conscious, or did they trick you? When did you become aware that you were mystic, and what your life was?
I could hear some of the question, but I couldn't hear all of it, Karen. Let me try to go outside. It might be clear.
Janet, you're
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear
that. Okay, now you're better. Yeah, go ahead.
I can hear. Can you just say it one more time?
Go ahead.
Question.
Eugene, could you please tell us about yourself, how you became aware that you're a mystic or a psychic or whatever this is? What are your abilities? And like at birth, or was it something like you're drowning at age 15 that activated you?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question and a fair one. So, around the age of 4, especially between 4 and 6, especially 6, I started having regular, prolonged out-of-bodies. And the out-of-bodies experiences were also mixed with regular dreams and lucid dreams. And I would have about maybe 6 of these a night, like 2 each. And they would, I'd have a dream, then an out of body, then a lucid dream. They would intermingle. It wouldn't be any certain order that happened. So after about, I was 6, after about 8, 11, 12, 13, I could distinguish between which one. And also by that time, too, I was an expert at the out-of-body because I was having at sometimes 6 a night. And there's a way where the dream can turn into an out-of-body. If you realize that you're dreaming, it can turn into an out-of-body. There's a lot that we could talk about. But with me,
wonderful,
it's there's a lot of, and this is the new stuff that I feel should have been known. A lot of with the near-death is memory. And just like the UFO thing, that's a memory thing is a problem too. And but there's a way we can have a continuation of consciousness. We can extend our consciousness so that we can remember every sequential scene in order. Whether it be a dream, a UFO thing, that's harder, or the near-death. I was able to remember about 95%. And as I was writing, a lot more came in. It's a deep thing, and it's real. There is an actual God who does judge us in an easy way. If you believe in him, no matter who you are, you're in. And the rest can be dealt with. He can deal with that. But the prime and only question is if you believe that he is God, and if you have believed that while you were alive. If your answer is yes, then you're automatically in, right then. So that's pretty cool, It's
So I
had
a lifetime of out-of-body experiences too. So I've been traveling out-of-body all my life.
Okay. Yeah, everyone has them. A lot just don't remember them because they're sleeping so heavily. So
I'm interested in that because you remembered and I remembered. I don't think I remembered, but I remember they're great.
Okay, like with me, it started with the outer bodies are a natural thing. Like when we go to sleep, our spirit body, it's a duplicate of us, comes out of the physical body and recharges in the atmosphere. That's where the electromagnetic energy is. So we recharge then, and in the morning we go back in. A lot of times we'll have dreams while we're recharging. And our astral body will act out the dream, sometimes not. Sometimes the dream will be in our mind. But we do recharge, and we go out to recharge, and we come back in when it's time to wake up. And that's the astral body. And the techniques are in a certain order, and a guy from the 20s, Sylvan Muldoon, recorded them down, and he's really the best one. And the only one I've seen that can match exactly what I know about him. And this guy was good, Sylvan Muldoon, with the Adventures in Out of Body. He was the only one who I saw that knew everything. And
what about Robert Monroe in the Robert Monroe?
No, when
equivalent or not as good?
No, because Sylvan Muldoon did his naturally by way of sickness, and so his astral body came out more instead of longer to recharge. But anytime you have to put a machine or something like that on your head, that's not cool. The more natural, the better. And it's mainly with the out of bodies. It's mainly a breathing techniques like in meditation, and just keeping control over your emotions and what you see. But anyone can have an out-of-body, and anyone can have a conscious out-of-body. And the meditational breathings help with that, because you can literally breathe your way into an astral state. You can watch the whole thing happening. And with just those breathing exercises,
control your emotions when you're out of body. Because I noticed, I think Whitley Strieber talked about it too, that if you become afraid, then you pop back into your body, your astral body, jumps back into your physical body, and you wake up. So
yes,
is that what you're talking about? It's like you get afraid of what's going on.
Yeah, when you're in a dream or an astral body or almost any kind of spiritual thing where you're outside of your body, you're in spirit form, if the shock becomes too much for your own mind to handle, it will be brought back in to the body. And if you're in a spiritual state and the stress is extreme, too extreme, at the exact right time, you'll be snapped back in. And a lot of times the person thinks it's just a normal dream or a vivid dream, but the more aware, the more the person can raise their levels of consciousness, they can remember literally everything that happens in a sequential order. And again, that happens right through the breathing exercises. Most people are shallow breathers, but when a person like you guys have been half awake and half asleep and been completely paralyzed and could barely move a finger or your eye. Have you ever had that? Sleep paralysis?
Yeah,
I
have.
A little bit more of that, but I tend to just go out of body at that point. I don't really experience it so much. But, yeah, but go ahead. You're talking about the sleep paralysis.
No, exactly. Was that Karen who said that?
Yeah, I had that when I was younger. I had it in relation to what I thought might have been abduction type experiences or observation, because several times I felt like I had somebody watching me or talking to me or telepathically talking to me, and I was very frustrated, so I was trying to wiggle inside my body, I could feel that light body layer that you're talking about. I was wiggling that around, but my body wasn't. It's like my spirit body wasn't lined up or something with my regular body. And if I just stopped and relaxed and just let it happen, then it kind of corrected itself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And both of you ladies said the exact right thing, because it does happen with the out-of-bodies, the paralyzation, and it also does happen with the alien abductions. That sleep paralysis happens in both of those. And, of course, it also happens in death with the rigor mortis thing, and I guess we'll be talking about that later. But that's a key element in all of the, especially near-death, out-of-bodies, UFO, the sleep paralysis. And and as you guys know, everything is connected. We've seen a good connection that's unlike anything that's out there now. So it does begin with it actually begins with the dreams. If you can get that together, then that'll open the doors to the other dimensions or realms or levels. And you can get to the dreams by doing a really good breathing exercises. And there's a meditation where you just look at something and focus on that. That's good too, especially when you want to get something. But for the out of bodies, you want to do the deep, slow breathings, at least 25 seconds to hold it in and out. And go at your own natural pace, but that'll the breathing exercises will elevate your levels of consciousness. You'll be more awake when you dream, and when you have you'll be awake enough where you can literally start to see it happening. And then out of a kind of like a physical response, you'll still be doing your breathings, which will keep you awake. We can talk about that too later. But it begins,
Yes, I'd like to know more about the breathing, because I've had problems with breathing all my life, because part of being a victim is I had chronic sinusitis, and then I was getting polyps, and so I'm not sure why they were, I was having that experiences with the polyps and the problem breathing. But recently I just had surgery, and I removed the polyps, and so I can breathe a lot better, and no matter whether I breathe right or not, I've been doing astral projection all my life. But I'm interested, because that would be great to teach people, so it's like a validation that this is real. Otherwise, they just think you're crazy. But you can actually teach people.
Yes, and then when you ask, you ask people if they've ever had a falling or flying dream, at least half say yes. And those falling and flying dreams are actually kind of like screen images for out-of-body exiting and coming back in. So like if a person has a flying dream, that in reality, their spirit body is beginning to come out of their physical. Or if a person has a dream where they're climbing steps or going in an elevator. I used to have a dream where I would awaken or climb up to a high trapeze, and once on top, I would wake up fully, so fully where I could feel the snow blowing against my feet. Then the trapeze, if I could keep my balance, would disappear, and I would start falling. I would have this dream every night until finally I realized this is a dream. So I just, like one of you guys said, I just let go with the paralysis. And then I saw I started to float, and then I said, well, maybe I can fly. And when I said fly, I started flying. And I was about 11 or 12, and I saw that you could, especially if you were awake enough with those breathings, you could start to control those dream worlds. And so if you ask someone if they've ever had a falling or flying, half of them will say yes, because we do it every night, but we don't remember it. We're so heavily from the day's work tired that we sleep right through it. But the afternoon naps, or if you wake up in the morning and go back to sleep, that's a good time after you're recharged. Breathings are the main thing that's really not talked about. And then the white lights, too. They don't talk about them enough, and we can get into that later, too. But it started with these psychic experiences, a lot of them, really heavy. And it started with the inner experiences first. Hearing stuff, seeing things, dreams, dream control, lucid dreams, out-of-body control, and then kind of as a graduation, the near death. And after that, it would be UFOs. So I've done haunted houses. They're all connected in a way we'll talk about later, but all of those things are connected. They're like separate rooms in God's paranormal mansion, separate wings. But we've found some good connections. Mm-hmm.
In my house, there are many mansions.
Yes.
I never thought of it as experiences before, but I like that. Different rooms to explore. In fact, that's actually one of my dreams. I've got a lot of dream sequences, and one of them is being in these buildings where I'm going from room to room and having different experiences. And I've had those flying and falling dreams, mostly flying, not falling too much. But I had this sequence of going up a ladder, but it's an energy ladder, and it only appears when I either put my foot on one of the rungs or my hands on one of the rungs. And it seems like, according to my how centered I was or how peaceful I was depending on how high I could climb. In other words, the more troubled I was, I could only get a few rungs up the ladder. But as I got more spiritually centered, it seemed like not only could I get up the ladder, but I could let go of it and float and fly. And I remember very many times flying over areas that I have lived before, so my hometown, different places like that. And then at some point it turned into places I was going to live at. So I ended up going over places where I eventually lived in those places. So I had sort of some prescient information coming to me.
That's good.
And another experience about your emotional state was I was told repeatedly, this before I was falling asleep, that I was going to have a positive abduction. I was going to be brought up on a ship, which is very unusual for me. Usually I'm not. And what would happen was it was going to be really important that I keep my cool. In other words, the more I stayed centered and peaceful, the more I was going to remember. And I was totally fine on the ship, but I came unglued when they were going to send me back. I didn't want them to send me back because I was in a life transition that was really pretty difficult. And so I was like, don't send me back. And then I freaked out. And so I was blanked out, but over time I've remembered bits and pieces of it more and more. But I'm interested in finding ways to help remember everything that happened sequentially. That'd be really interesting to find out how to do that, because I really would like to know more about that, because it was just so darn dramatic. And I did have marks on my body when I woke up. I had, over the next few days, I found boot marks all over me. So I did go. Nothing happened. I just don't remember what.
Yeah, more happens in that spiritual things that we can't see than that we do. And the things that we do see, half of them are illusions intertwined with reality. And like you said, you can control your emotions, feel your way through, which is the best way. Your own feelings won't lie to you, especially if you learn to listen to them and stuff. And when something tells you you're walking down the street to turn around and just check your back, and you do, and you're right, that's starting to listen to your feelings. There's a card game you can play with yourself or with someone where you just try to guess first the color of the card that you're going to flip over. And after a certain amount of time, you'll start to get good at it, where you'll just know what color it is. And without thinking, because people overthink too much, if you just say what color you know it is, it'll come up. And you can practice that, and over the years you'll get it to a high degree. But that'll start to open up the other doors for all the other abilities. Whenever we have a UFO or a powerful dream, and dreams that's like the key, that's like the doorway. If you can remember a dream or you dream, you can get to all those other things. That's the primary way that we experience that other side, and the primary way we experience communication with the Creator, through dreams. So, and it's easy to have a dream. Once you start telling your mind, I want to have a dream, I want to remember it, it will. And one of you guys was talking about something where it showed that flying over the houses that you used to live in and the future houses that you would live in. It's like when the two minds, subconscious and conscious, communicate with each other, then some powerful and illuminating things happen, especially with yourself. And it's good to know that other side of yourself, and the dreams is the most natural and quickest way to do it. You could do it tonight. And it all really starts with the breathing. That's free, and to do deep breathings. I used to do them because I was bored in school. In a boring math class, I would look at the clock and start holding my breath, see if I could get over a minute. And I saw that the breathings started to change me. I would know the question in advance, or even what the teacher would say. So, and I also saw that later on, because I kept doing them throughout junior high and high school. The breathing exercises helped me in sports, quick reflexes. So I saw that physically and mentally they helped me. So at night for sports, I would do them again, not realizing that they would open up the psychic dreams and psychic doorways when I went to sleep, and they did fully. So I didn't know till later that I was meditating, but that's what it was. And if you can have the air power, that can trump all the other stuff, genetics or whatever. And it's the people have to get used to that other side of themselves, the side that will live on after death. And we can talk about that, the death process, because there is an other side, and people know they have a separate self, a double. They're conscious, And once you communicate back and forth with it, you can do a lot of stuff. You can do anything. But when you start to get to that level, then the things in a normal world aren't of no interest. The main thing that you want to do is reunion back with God, the one who made you. You want to reunite. The mystic's goal is to have a one-on-one conscious union with God. And when you start to get up into those levels where you're thinking and trying to do those things, then the normal psychic abilities and stuff, it won't be of no interest. And it's actually a distraction. But you should always try and get to God, try to know Him, want to be with Him, and know about him, and a lot of good stuff will happen. Almost anything, really. But
yeah, I've had, since I had 8 near-death experiences, and I'm a tantra practitioner and into yoga and meditation and breath work and doing psychotherapy and all the kind of energy work and clearing. In my own path, I had a very abusive mother, and as a result, I had 8 near-death experiences at her hand. And that was a curse, but it was a blessing because it showed me the way, and I was able to access, the higher realms and the life between lives and all those dimensions. And I realized, all 8 times that I had this experience, I chose to come back here. And I chose to come back here because I'm supposed to be here for this time now and this mission, which is part of what you're doing, Eugene, and what Karen's doing, which is the great awakening of the planet Earth and this evolution of consciousness. So, anyway,
Janet,
I have a very complicated story as well.
Wait. You had 8 near deaths? Do you remember those?
Yes, my mother
Tell us.
was undiagnosed.
I need to hear that.
Yeah. Okay, my mother was undiagnosed schizophrenic. She's no longer with us, but I was the youngest. There's 5 years between myself and my sister, who's the middle sibling, and I'd be left alone with her, and she would act out, and she drowned me. She pushed me down a flight of steps. She strangled me a couple times. There were different ways that I got out of my body, but the earliest that I recall, I was 4 years old, and I was out of my body. And when I was on the other side, I was shown the possible variations on the timeline that would happen if I were to remain dead. And, of course, it's very inviting. It's like swimming in a sea of love. And it's like, why in the world would I ever want to go back? But when they showed me the different outcomes of as a result of me being killed and remaining in the dead zone, I didn't like how it affected my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. So, of course, the choice was mine, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to come back because I don't want to do that to my parents and to my family. And so I came back, popped into my body. The energy was so high from where I was, and it was quite a long time I was there, probably 45 minutes, and they were trying to revive me. This was a brutal act. I'll say it here. I don't care. A neighbor got a hold of me, and he orally raped me, and he pushed his penis down my throat, and I choked to death. And, of course, there was a lot of trauma. They were beating up on him. They were trying to revive me with my mother and a neighbor. And they held it secret for many, many years. Many, many years they held that secret. But the guy who did it died. He died a horrible death. He was stabbed 17 times in his chest by a burglar who came to steal his money. So he got his due, right? But when I was 4, which was many years before, of course there's a thing called the Kune. I didn't remember it. But when I popped back to my body, I was very happy. And I literally was down on the ground. My head was cocked sideways, and it looked like it was broken. But I came back, fixed the body, popped upright, and said, hi. And I was smiling. And there were 3 adults, and they turned around, they screamed, and they ran out of the room because I was dead. They were about to call the police and turn themselves in. And then, so then I crawled into the bed. Yeah, I mean, there's a kid. We killed her. We couldn't revive her. So that was
that
one
in
of
the 60s or 70s? That's a good one.
I was born in 1954, so that was 58. 1958.
That's a good year. It's a good year.
Mm-hmm.
That's wow. So 8 of them. So yeah, every time the person has one, it leaves the after effects of just having one, even if they don't remember it. Like I had a college friend, and he's an athletic director at NC State, and he had one, but he doesn't remember. But the after effects still kick in, and the person just expands where they're themselves, but they're just more than themselves. And every aspect of themselves that needed development develops through those after effects. And the after effects get stronger every year. So the near-death and really all of those paranormal experiences have after effects. And we, whether it be haunted house, a dream can have super strong after effects, out of bodies, near death, and UFOs. and they're similar in a way, and they're different in a way. But in that realm, there's a intertwining of everything. So everything is all, and all is everything. But the clarity of vision and the discernment of spiritual illusion will come from those breathing exercises and the controlling of emotions. In a picture I'll put up on the post that of what happened. I have a figure who's going through his near death. That's me. But there are no eyes. There's eyelids, but there's no eye pupils, because in that realm it's better to feel it than to see it. Because just like with the sleep paralysis, when those happen, sometimes people freak out because they think things are around their bed and people are sitting on them, or that with the sleep paralysis, sometimes they're real, where it's just a dream. I used to have a sleep paralysis dream where a cat would be hanging and from my private part. And
wow.
He would be stretching, a cat with his claws would be gripping into it and stretching it down as long as and I would have to take his claws off of him and throw him away, but it seems so real that the person thinks it is real, but it's really just an illusion. A lot of times of fear, and one of you guys talked about fear. There's in the near death, it brings primal ecstasy, where you're up with God, you're mixing with Him, you see Him, He talks to you, you energize and merge with Him, you mix with Him. But in the UFO, and there's good things too, but there's in the UFO experience, it does bring primal fear, and the people can feel it. And I've had earlier what I thought were either angels or aliens teaching me a lot of stuff when I was a teenager. And one of you guys said that you went to like a level or a dream dimension where you learn stuff with other people, and they have those. You just like absorb it and remember it later. And I don't say download because that sounds too mechanical. Because we naturally get these spiritual revelations, and they're the opposite of mechanical. They're natural, and you just know
that.
stuff.
Yeah, because I've never known how to describe it, because it's not channeling. I'm not channeling. I'm not losing consciousness, and nobody's taking over, and it's information. And so because I use computers a lot, I say, well, it's like download, but I like that. It's a very natural process. I get that all the time. Now, let me ask you a question, because this is very interesting where we're going, and Karen and I will go back and forth because, we've danced in these realms for a while. Karen and I haven't, so it's really good we don't get to talk this level too much with too many people. Let me just tell you that, and this is quite refreshing. But
thanks.
When you, oh goodness, I forgot what I was going to ask. It was a download.
Take your time.
Okay,
it'll come back.
The fear factor thing. Yeah. When I would find myself, it wasn't even fear. One time I was very tired. I was overwhelmed. It's like, you've got to go to sleep, Janet, right now. Go to sleep, Janet. Okay, I'll go to sleep. I'll shut off the phone, go to sleep. And it was almost like as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was in the future. I was standing at the foot of a giant structure that was probably like the ones they're describing on the moon, 7 miles high. It was just enormous. And it was based on the thermals. And there was these little windows that would move. And, high up there's these thermals. By the time it got down to the Earth plane, it was generating energy enough to power the entire planet. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, that's fascinating. I wish I was a scientific mind that could bring that back. And then all of a sudden, it was almost like a fear. I went, because I realized this isn't a dream. I'm here. Yeah. And I'm going, oh my God. Okay. So don't be afraid, because you'll pop back in your body. And I had to just do the breath like you're talking, just breathe It's okay. You're in the future. You're seeing something. Just take it in. Okay, pay attention.
Take it in.
And I could feel like the wind blowing on my face. Okay, yes, you're really there. And then when I'd look down, it's like, oh, there's my feet on the ground. Okay, move. Yes.
Yes.
You're making sound.
And the more,
your feet, oh.
The more the
amazing.
person doesn't react, the more they feel it. You know, it's like you want to notice it without reacting, and that's exactly what you do. And you can tell when another person has had it because they describe it exactly, and it rings true. You can tell when someone is telling the truth or they know what they're talking about. But go on. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, the feeling is absolute joy, elation, bliss. When you realize I'm doing this is real, I'm here.
Yes.
And then you stay into your full and complete. You go, okay, I can go back now. So I'm aware that I am a multidimensional being having simultaneous experiences, probably in many incarnations, many forms, many lifetimes, because time's an illusion here. And once you get to this point, it's like your life becomes bliss. Now, I don't stay there because I still get overwhelmed by I got to pay the mortgage and taxes and yada yada. But it's just total bliss when you can be in this state. And that's why I love having someone like yourself, because let's bliss out as a human species, because there is this incredible joy that awaits us all if we learn how to do this. And then we can shift consciousness for everybody. All of us. We're all worthy, and it's past time. Yeah. Okay, back to you or Karen. Who wants to talk next? Karen, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to interject a couple things. The word observe. Just observe the experience. And that's what you do without reaction. And the other thought I had is that I was taught by A.R. Borden when we were in those groups about that each of us are able to plug into our bio-kind, bio-mind. Each species, so that natural thing you're talking about is the shared morphogenetic field we have with all humans, with all creation. And so when you're in that observing, kind of peaceful, kind of centered mode, and you have questions or you want to know things or you want to be creative, you want to make a creative project, you know, my belief in I guess God would be the Creator created creators to create. So the idea is that we're co-creators with the Creator, and that's the best way I understand, you know, the concept of God. So we're participating in that. And so like you were talking about, Eugene, that you get disinterested in a lot of things of the world because right now the world system is very enamored with consumerism, so they consume the creativity of others rather than do their own creativity or plug into the spiritual realm. And so one of my guides suggested to me that our etheric space is too crowded because we put our attention and observation on a bunch of things that's just consumer space. So the more we cut out some of that stuff, you know, kind of not watch TV all the time, you know, or give some quiet space to do the meditation, the more it gets easier to tune in. It's like you're tuning into a different frequency band instead of the world frequency band of the world with its crazy news and scary stuff and politics and everything. You tune out of that. Because if you have a radio and a TV going at the same time, I don't know about you, but that drives me to the wall. So you want to tune one out, and then that way you tune into this other space. And I have had spaces where I didn't even have access to the Internet quite like I do now, and I try to, you know, ration that as well or control that. And then you tune into this other awareness. And there's plenty to learn, and it's download is a good word that we use a lot because we're in the computer age, but it's like an osmosis or a knowing, or sometimes you're getting the answer right at the same time that you're asking the question. It's like you want to know something and then you know it. two sides of a coin, or how I was shown one time in a visionary experience, which I seem to have more of that than dreams I remember, was the idea of whatever kind of vessel that you have, if you have a teacup or a pitcher or a pot, and you dip it into a well of water, whatever shape that your question is, their curiosity is the shape of the answer. It fits it. The information will come to you. When I want to research something, suddenly somebody will tell me something about that, or they'll send me an email about it, or I'll just think about it, or a book will fall off the shelf, which I've heard that happen to several people. A book just falls off the shelf in front of them and they need to read. This is a natural thing that humans have, but right now we're playing with an artificial construct of that looks like it, that isn't the same. It's a matrix, it's a construct, because we're co-creating this idea of it we're a little bit too far from it. We have a society that wants to be a copycat society of that much deeper spirituality.
Yes. You said some good stuff, Janet.
That was Karen. I was before her. Yeah, Karen.
I'm trying to get the voices.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I can talk in a funny accent if you need me to.
Okay. If you guys want to know anything about the near death or what happens life after death, we can talk about that, or any kind of paranormal thing, or
Well, what are the
stages you want to take us?
Yeah, I'm curious of the stages of near death or crossing over completely. There seems to be stages, and my daughter did going through the tunnel thing. I've heard people talk about that, meeting their loved ones, or their idea of heaven or whatever they expect to see on the other side. I was wondering if you could talk about that process a little bit.
Yeah. Well, just like with anything else, the near death has an order. It has several sequential stages. It has a clear and orderly structure, repeating patterns, a beginning, middle, and end, which makes sense and are easily seen when examined as a whole single event instead of some randomly occurring, meaningless, misunderstood fragment of some murky afterlife memory. That's a quote from the book. And it's not a thing where the person kind of remembers this or kind of remembers that. And I was comparing the memory of the near-death experiences with the memory of the UFO experiences. It seems like the UFO ones remember their memory is stifled way more. But with the near-death, it has an exact pattern. It's 40 years or so, I guess. It started in about 78, so it's about 40 years. But we haven't, besides PMH Atwater, a female, besides her and Dr. Grayson, there hasn't been a lot of progress in 45 years. And then the people are told, well, you come out your body, you maybe float around near the ceiling, you have a sense of people being around you, you see a white light, you see God, or you might talk to God, and then you're brought back with a mission. So that's after 40 years, and that's either a problem with the researchers or a problem with the memory of the experiences. But with the doctors bringing back people on the emergency room tables, like 700 people a day have near deaths. And more are starting to remember because more are into it now. And back in the 70s, 60s, maybe even early 80s, if you started talking about UFOs or anything like that, people would look at you, and some might try to put you into a crazy house. Do you guys remember any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was born in 1964. I remember we had insane asylums everywhere, and they would stick you in an insane asylum with hardly blinking an eye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
You could be telling the truth. and there would be no questions asked. This could be your parents. You're going to see a doctor or something. So when people had those experiences back then, they really kind of, like Stevie Nicks said, kind of keep them inside. And they were having some heavier ones. So people are waking up now. But with the near death, it's a memory thing. And I was able to remember 95, and then about 3% more, 98% with the writing of it. And that's a deep thing, and I do want to get through that. And I also study UFOs and alien abductions with Dr. Jacobs and myself. So we were friends with Barney and Betty Hill, that famous couple back in the 60s who had like the first proven UFO. Barney was from Philly, and he knew my dad. We're from Philly. So they were good friends before the Barney and Betty Hill abduction. So we used to go up there in the winters and the summer and hear Betty Hill's story. And it was pretty cool. So I've always been involved with the paranormal. At age 6 and then at 9, at age 9, I asked God to show me everything that was invisible, like all the secret powers, the invisible, the out-of-body. Show me all of that stuff. And if he did, I would always tell people about him. So at age 11, it started happening heavily, and it kept on year after year until I had heavy experiences in a lot of things. And some of the scientists saw that and asked me to be involved in the research, and that's how the research started.
Okay.
And that's been 19 years ago.
I'd like to ask you a couple questions on that. 19 years ago.
Yeah.
First of all, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Eugene?
I'm in my 50s.
You're in your 50s, okay. So just get a point of reference. So you were going to visit Betty and Barney, and their experience happened, what, was that 61 or 62?
61,
like
September, yes.
September
61.
And then that movie came out. Do you remember what year
Yes.
that movie was? I could look it up, but yeah, go ahead.
With James Earl Jones?
Yes, I love James Earl Jones.
UFO incident, about 77.
Oh my goodness, it was that late. Okay. Well, I'm not
But
sure
it was
exactly
a good movie.
when I heard about Betty and Barney. It was very good, especially because it starred James Earl Jones. I've always had a crush on him.
Yeah. They both did good acting.
I love the woman. What was the woman's name? I forget her name.
Estelle Parsons.
She was Estelle Parsons. Yeah. So they were fabulous. So I never forgot that movie. It's like it was such a relief for me to see that happening, because I've been having it happen to me my entire life. So I'm glad you were a part of that. So you were up there. You met both Betty and Barney? I guess Barney died pretty early, right?
Barney died, I think, maybe late 70s. He didn't make it to the 80s.
Late 70s. Right, he didn't make
stroke.
the 80s.
No.
And I think the 90s or something, somewhere in there. And
Betty Hill, about 2003, or 4.
Okay, good. You got all the stats. And then Kathleen Martin now is her niece and has written some books. So when did you go study with David M. Jacobs? We talked about this in another show. I just saw David Jacobs at the International UFO Congress. And yes, and he was there in the dark side of the floor, the dark aliens, and there was Barbara Lamb was there with 6 hybrids, people that said, I'm a hybrid, and she brought them out on stage. So, and these were all having positive experiences, and this was a fascinating conference, and I think you can go get the DVDs, but I was just sitting there, and I wanted to hate David Jacobs, because it's like, no, don't have us go into this dark world with the extraterrestrials. But I kept going over and talking to him, and he's a delightful person. He's humorous. He's got a wonderful personality. And I said, well, now what do I do? Because, I can't, justice in my mind, because I cannot get, my extraterrestrial experiences were positive. Even when I look at it in hindsight, I go, well, I perceive that as a negative, but fear. So Tell me about that. Back to you.
You're right. There's a lot of UFO experiences that are positive, consciously and I guess subconsciously. But we're concerned about those negative ones. And just like the near-death researchers, they didn't want to talk about the bad near-death experiences. They didn't want to talk about the hellish near-death, where people say they went to hell. In the same way, the bad side or the dark side of alien abductions, because there's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. Like the normal non-experiencers, they feel like they're going out of their minds. And even the regular experiencers or psychics and stuff like that, that's hard for them to handle. And I had two huge abduction scar marks on my thighs where I had they had worked on me. But so we're concerned with the negative experiences because they're real and just as real as the positive experiences. And the way they happen at night when the person's asleep. Their levels of consciousness are at their lowest, their energy at their lowest. They work with the astral body, and all kinds of stuff happens on the craft. And a lot of that is not cool. You guys know a lot about that stuff, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And so we're looking at the negative side of that because it's just a wildest side. And with the aliens, since we don't fully know what they are, then our apprehension must extend further than our comprehension. We've got to be really careful. And things are connected and things mixed. And this seems to be, just like Valet said and Dr. Hynek said, that it seems to be an element of demonism, at least in the dark side of ufology. It's a strange thing, and if you don't have your emotions and head together, know who you are, or at least can keep calm, that stuff, just like the antimatter, the spiritual tar, will just take over you. It's a wild thing. So Dr. J, yeah, he's together. He's kind of like PMH Atwater, the Near-Death World Authority. He's ahead of his time enough where people, it almost seems crazy, but then 20 years later, you see that it's right. He knows exactly what he's talking about. But the UFO's positive experiences and positive after effects. But the dark side is there too, and that's got to be looked at because there's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. And reptilians.
I agree. We have to look at the entire continuum. I agree. We have to look at the reptilians and the what do they call those? The archons and all these things that are dark, and we have to look at the whole continuum. What I objected to was his conclusion that it's all dark and that the gray aliens are going to take over, and they're doing this hybrid program. It just seemed extreme. But that's he's entitled to his opinion. But that was where I didn't agree. That's all.
I don't think anything's all dark, and I know there's some good spiritual elements or forces or assistants out there because I've had them myself that have helped me, and so I know there's a good side. And I've now that I can get out of near-death and UFO regular research and see what the experiencers know. The experiencers from at least 97 to now have really grown in what they know and have experienced. It's like they've fully woken up, and really it's the experiencers who the scientists get their data or information from. So the experiencer has to start to learn to categorize what they're going through, at least copyright their stuff, because they will take it. They tried it on me, except that I gave them reverse information as a test to see if they would do it, and they did it. But they got the exact reverse information. So the experiencer, they are the ones who have the information. They have to start make sure that they protect their information because a lot of them are going through some deep stuff in a lot of different areas. But with the UFO and Dr. J, he he knows a lot about the spiritual and mystical side of ufology, but doesn't always subscribe to it. But you got to admit, he's the first big UFO researcher to let us know more about what's happening inside the ships, and kind of like Bud Hopkins with the missing time, and Dr. J was able to get us inside the ships and get us a better view, more than any other, of what was going on. And Dr. Mack was really onto some good things, and just like Kathleen Turner, too. She was really together. But they passed away early. Now, if we would have had those two, too. But so Dr. J's the remaining one, and he's on track with this. A lot of it's with the bad side. It's not right. And in my second book, which is about the aliens, I specialize in alien and near death. And some people would, well, why alien and near death? Because but with the bad aliens, they are doing something that goes way beyond abductions, and it's time for people.
So
a lot of
I've read
people
some
do know.
books like that.
People know
They
exactly,
say
but
that
this outlines.
And they're yeah. I'm sorry. I just want. You're talking about. You're correlating aliens and near death. So is there some connection that that's the same realm where they're taking us to the Bardo, the in-between lives, or is that, when they're taking us astrally? Sometimes they take you physically. You have markings and all that stuff, but sometimes you're going astrally. They're not bothering to take your body. From what I understand, it's sometimes very hard on the body to go into these other, spacecraft, and they have to have special consideration to protect the body. So a lot of times, once you're established with them, especially over there and somewhere every night among other planets, it's just phenomenal. I have full life the moment I close my eyes, and it's never a dull moment. So I know to that level. But
Janet?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're popping in and out. I really like to know what you're saying because it sounded great, but it's about half there.
Okay.
I could hear her.
Okay.
It was good.
Okay.
It was good, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. The mic hangs down too far. I have to pick it up and speak into it. Thank you very much for reminding me of that. That's okay. I'm excited about this because I'm having these experiences, and like I was saying, my life in where I'm sleeping is very rich and full. I've read some books where they're saying that these extraterrestrials are trying to create souls for themselves or get our souls, and there's one very dark book which is even darker than our friend
Jacob,
that they're trying to harvest our souls and have them for themselves. So I'll put that back on the table here. We'll go dark for a little bit. We're going to end on a high note, but are you finding those things happening, that there's something, is that why you're writing this book? Is there a correlation between, the near death and the aliens? Back to you, Eugene.
Thanks. In a normal way, it would seem like that there is the near death with the God thing is the exact opposite of the alien abduction with its primal fear aspect and its memory issues. And it seems like people do remember more with the near death, but the alien thing is just a little too, like Dr. J said, clandestine, too secretive. It is what they're working on. It goes way beyond the hybrids. It goes into the realm where you said where it starts to deal with the energy of the soul and the harnessing of that, because the soul has a lot of energy, and it can help one of them last 1,000 years. And just because it will allow us to live forever, it's that energy is eternal. So that's what they're after, and there's a jealousy factor with them, that we have souls, and we were given souls, and they don't. But we know that there are good aliens that help people and teach them. I used to remember being half awake, half asleep, and waking up in a semicircle, half a circle, with like these hooded beings being around me. And they would just shoot me these telepathic messages that I would later remember in time. But we're thinking, and with me, I've had it affected with the bad ones, and they're doing there's a lot of deep stuff, bad stuff, where it's just too much. If you read Dr. J's The Threat, it's what's going on in those UFOs is literally unholy. And I'm a mystic saying that. I've seen the good side of the aliens, but these bad ones, they are just in a different realm, a satanic realm. It sounds wild, and they have good ones, but the bad ones are. It's too wild, literally, to mention here. Where it's rapes and gang rapes. It's just, and the sex thing that they have is just that's like a perk. But the ultimate goal is the harnessing the energy of our individual souls. They can't take it, but it can be extracted or given up. It's and so it goes into the field of demonology and Satanism slightly, and that's on that invisible world, that second heaven, that other dimension where all those things, like one of you guys asked, are connected. The near death, where the person comes out of their body, they're in that astral realm. UFOs are in there. Spirits, ghosts, all that stuff is in that second realm, that second heaven. And we go there every night. Sometimes you'll be an astral traveler, and you'll be flying around. You'll see someone flying by fully asleep in any position, or even standing up, and that's because they're like sleeping through the astral dream. But we want to raise our levels of consciousness. We want to have continuation of consciousness, and you can do that, both of those, through the breathings. And you want to like master the dreams and out of bodies, and then you'll see a lot of stuff after that. And the person will start to become, just through the breathings alone, occurrence prone. They'll start to have psychic experience again and again and again. And there's a lot of energy just from having the psychic experience. But always continue on to go to meet and be with God. Don't worry about the experiences or the powers or knowing stuff and stuff like that. That's like a distraction. Continue, because when you mix with God, then you're fully altered, kind of like Moses in the Ten Commandments movie. You're really changed, and you become way more of yourself. You actualize into your total self. It's so the best way to have the near-death after effects without dying is to get them through a dream state or a dream. You can do it that way. And there's like a difference between the cosmic energy you might get through a out-of-body and a near-death. There's a different energy with the UFOs, too, with the antimatter thing. But there's a lot out there, and it does really start with the breathing exercise. If you do like eight really good ones a night, you'll watch the improvement in your dream life. And that's half of ourselves. And that will be the spiritual self that you wake up in, so you got to get to know it. It's a fully different world, and you can do a lot of things. And also that self now, that secondary spirit self, can help you in this world if you communicate back and forth with it. And the breathings are the first start. That'll kick everything in. You know?
So tell us a little bit more about the breathing. Is it just breathing deep? Is it, do you have a thought that goes along with that? Or an intention? Tell us about the breathing.
Yeah. If the person, like say the basketball player, wants to accomplish a goal, he'll picture himself making the dunk or the shot while doing the breathings, and he'll visualize while doing the actual physical breathings. But if a person wants to attain in the spiritual way, they want to have an out-of-body, they want to dream, suppose a person wants to, let's see, there's a way where you can focus. Like if you want to have a specific dream or go to a specific place, you can do the breathings and visualize that place. Or you can do that for just pure spiritual awareness, to raise your levels of consciousness. That's the main thing, to be more aware of what's happening on that other side. Then you just simply do the breathings. And then you watch what comes into your mind as you're doing the breathings, like in the dark of the room. And things will come into your mind, especially if you do the breathings when you're not super tired. Try to do them every night, but especially on nights when you're kind of like you went to bed early. Try to go to bed 45 minutes early and do the breathings before you knock out, or during an afternoon nap. But the breathings will open up all those other psychic doors. Really, they're like warehouses. And it'll start, a lot of times it'll start with the hearing, like that clear audience, but the person will start to maybe hear, you might hear something as you're falling asleep, and then maybe while you're awake or thought you hear something. But if you continue doing the breathings, even do them one night and see what happens, but do them one full season, and you'll have dramatic results where you'll keep doing them all your life. I've been doing them since I was 4. I'm in my 50s. So if you want any of those things, do the breathings. And they help a lot for regular health, too. You know. But it starts with the breathings, and it starts with the right intentions. You want to have like a thirst, a hunger for that spiritual knowledge. There's a lot, and it keeps on, just like you guys said, with the UFO thing, it keeps on unfolding and unfolding and unfolding, where more comes out and more. But you want to have the knowledge, and you want to mix with God, and all those other things you'll get automatically. If you seek only to be with God, just like a kid, you just want to be with Him and mix with Him, all that knowledge and psychic powers and stuff, that'll come. But by then, you won't even want it, because you'll be on too high of a level where reading people's minds and stuff, that won't be happening. You'll just be mainly communicating with your own subconscious and with God. And you can get a lot of things to happen in your own world. Really, like I said, anything you want, once you want to be with God and know your own mind. And it does start with the breathing exercises. As you drift off to sleep and you're doing the breathings, even if you don't notice what you're seeing in the darkness, make sure you do the breathings. But as you drift off to sleep, you can have your eyes open or awake, and you'll start to see images. And so watch those images. And you might have a thought that comes into your mind. Notice it, but don't react, just like record it. You want to be like a Mr. Spock with no emotions in that spiritual world. Then you'll be able to feel more. And the more you turn off the feelings, the more you feel. Sometimes the shy kid might feel, he overfeels. And in the spiritual world, it's like that. And you can tell by your feelings more than your sight if it's real. Because there's a lot that's mixed with, there's a lot of illusion that's mixed with reality. And the near-death is that too. It's illusion that's mixed with reality. Like, here's an example. People say, I went through a tunnel. And Dr. Atwater, confirms this. There is no actual tunnel. That's a sensation that people feel when their spirit body is leaving their physical body. There's a pull, death, and we'll have to talk about what happens when the person dies and stuff. There's a pull, but there's no actual tunnel. It's an illusion, or what a person physically feels, and you literally see it too, is happening. Like you, in the near-death or any experience, you'll think you'll see something, and it won't really be happening. But especially in the near-death or UFOs, it's the illusions are so strong that they leave physical after effects after the experience in your real life. You'll have after effects from the illusions. That's how strong of a thing that we're dealing with in the afterlife of death. And if you believe in God, that'll get you all the way through. Until you meet with God, you'll meet with Him in the air. to kind of show his power as he comes. You will rise in unison in the air with him until he comes to you, because there's no way that the person could go to God. He comes to you in a way that you'll recognize.
Eugene,
yeah.
Can I ask you some questions about where we go when we die? I've had 8 near-death experiences, and so I don't think I'm going all the way to the other side. I'm kind of like in between. Yet I've read the series of books. Oh, there's lots of books by the Dr. Michael Newton Institute where they've regressed. I think statistically they've regressed about 45,000 people around the planet, different therapists, different countries, races, colors, creeds, religions, and they go to the life after life state. Have you read those books, or are you aware of that research? It's pretty phenomenal, and I highly recommend it.
I've heard of Michael Newton.
Right.
I always only dealt with the world authorities, but I've heard of Michael Newton, Jeffrey Long, and some of the others. There's
right.
I mainly trust the experiencers. They're the ones who have it. They're the ones who remember, and they're the ones who tell the doctors what's happening, and then the doctors record it and then replay it back.
Well, these are 45,000 people that have gone into that, and so they're experiencers as well, and so they've documented this, and I'll just summarize it, and then you can comment on it, maybe Karen too. What they saw was they were met by their guide. Each and every soul has a personal guide that meets you lifetime after life. They're taken to their council, and their councils can be from 3 to about a dozen elders, people that are more involved souls that help you to integrate and digest what you just experienced. And then you go to your soul family, and your soul family consists of about 5 to 30 individuals that you continually reincarnate and interact with. You might be parent-child one lifetime, lovers another lifetime, enemies another lifetime, and at that point you go into a therapy group where you keep discussing and integrating the experiences you've had, connecting the dots between the one you just had, times you've had before, and the lessons you've learned. You can actually merge consciousness with, let's say you meet your enemy or somebody you have difficulties with, you're beyond the skin encapsulated self-sense, so you're in this etheric form, and you can literally do a Vulcan mind meld, but it's mind, body, soul. You just merge into each other, then you have a knowingness of what. Literally, you know what you did,
you said,
all the ramifications of all your actions are there, and you get it, you grok it, you understand it, and you come forward and you go, whoa, I'm never going to do that one again. I'm so sorry. So, anyway, it's fascinating. I think it does correlate with the experiencers, but anyway, I always introduce that when I can because it correlates a lot with what I know, and I just hope that we can do this because I'd love to see other people that have died from God before because they're all a part of us. But one more thing, and then I'll pass the baton to somebody else. They said that we always keep a thread of our soul back in that in-between realm, and when we send our consciousness down, the more advanced the soul is, the more simultaneous incarnations they can have, the better they are able to manage their energy. So with that, I'll pass it back. Let me hear from Karen. We haven't heard from her in a while. We got about a half hour left to the show. Karen, how are you doing?
I've just been listening and fascinated, and a couple thoughts. One was that I really agree and resonate with what you're saying about experiencers, because what we've been kind of dealing with culturally for a while is that we let the experts and researchers kind of look at whatever evidence that they're looking at and tell us what these experiences are from a scientific way. But really I think that we're coming into what I call the gateway of the experiencers, where we're now past that point of, or at least a lot of experiencers I know are past the point of being shy about their experiences. it seems like this new openness is happening because we've got the internet and people can, look around and research their own case, and they can find a couple people that had similar experiences. And so I think we're in a new era of mutual discovery because it's not, people are talking with each other more. It seems like when you ever went camping or something, everybody's sitting around a campfire, they'll tell you their ghost stories or whatever, scary stories. But now they're, people are discussing it. They're asking questions. They are listening to researchers. But I think you're right, is that it is really the experts have gone to the experiences, so let's have the conversation. Let's have the safe place now on internet radio or a forum or groups to talk about it, because that is the next phase for all of us together to start looking at that. What you're saying, it's a wisdom to it. You the more you allow yourself to meditate on this and have those experiences and invite the, of course, with some positive intention. It seems to me like since I opened those doors for myself, I accept myself a lot more. I see the bigger picture of my life, and I'm not so caught up in the up and down happenings of my life that make me either totally despairing or totally cocky, which doesn't happen to me very often. And so I think this is a real new thing that we're all sharing with each other and talking about it. And there's still some people that are saying crazy, but I've noticed some people that truly surprised me that I wrote them off as being too narrow-minded or something to even consider these topics, and now we're having those conversations. So I think that's right on what you're saying. Yeah.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah. Yeah, both of you guys are really smart, in this discipline of, it's really like spiritual science. And it's good to listen to the other ones because, especially if, like, they're an experiencer, like you guys are, because that's a gold mine. There's a lot of experiencers who are not even talking about stuff that they has happened to them. And the experiencers are having some deep stuff happening to them. It's like they'll have it, and maybe 20 years later, others will start having it. So the scientists know that their data is going to come from the experiencers. So the experiencers have to start categorizing their stuff, writing it down, the dreams and stuff, and practicing with it. You got to do the breathings, and then
that's the other thing I was going to ask you about. What specific breathings can you recommend to people to get them to that? I call it the neutral zone, sort of. Of the idea of you get to a neutral state or a 0 point state where you're able to kind of observe and, like you said, record, and then later on sort out how you feel about it. What's some good ideas of meditating or breathing that you can recommend?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just adjust this light. I do have to give a shout out to Sophie and Georgia in England. They're fans of your show, and I had to say hi real quick.
Oh, all right, Sophie and Georgia.
Super cool.
Thanks for coming.
But, and I'm sure they'll be continuing to tune in, as I will. But
thank you.
Yeah, you guys. Okay, so with the and your question was with the breathings, how to do them, or how to get what effects, or
how do you what's a starting thing to do? I know what I do, but I'd be interested in what you'd recommend. Someone wants to start out.
For me, if the person can get like inside a locked door where someone else can't come in and interrupt, just like secure yourself in your room, and then make the bed comfortable. You could be in a chair too. And so the lower the light, the better, so you can't look at stuff, even in the dark, because your eyes will adjust. But you just want to be comfortable, and then you want to just only physically. You don't want to think. You just want to feel. You just want to start breathing in slowly, really. The slower, the better. and you breathe in. Supposedly, you breathe in through your nose, and then blow out through your mouth. But any way that feels good for you is all right. With the nose, it's because of like the dust and pollution. But as long as you get the air, like we used to sleep on the balcony to get the actual air instead of like the shoebox that is an apartment or a house. The real air that has electricity in it, that's the kind you want to get. And if you sleep outside, you'll have a full dream. When you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, your eyes will be fully clear and tight. And so you always want to get that natural air. The more natural, the better. So get comfortable and get cool and lock yourself in. And then you slowly breathe in, slow it as much as you can until every like capillary is full. Really slow. If you feel it pinching or something, you can stop. But take in as much air as you can. Hold it for just a few seconds, and then even slower, let it out. Let it out really slow. That'll clean a lot of stuff out, like physically clean it, toxins and stuff, and then spiritually clean it too. You'll feel it, and you'll feel how strong, getting all that air throughout your blood, coursing through you'll feel how strong you are physically. You'll feel how alert, like your eyes will work better. And you'll feel how spiritually and physically, after one real breath, take it like 15 seconds taking it in, hold it for 2 seconds, and then 15 seconds or more. Let it out real slow to get all that stuff out. And then once you catch your breath, do it again, even slower. If you get slower, the better. More air in. You want to fill up your stomach first, then your chest. It doesn't matter how long you hold it. You don't even have to hold it. And only do it in the way that it feels comfortable to you. So you'll do those, and then you'll notice like a deviation in your sleep and dream patterns. And you'll notice a clarity of a dream consciousness and a retention of dream memory just from the breathings. There was a time where you could be in a dream and sense that, I'm starting to wake up, because your body starts to literally change. The physiology of it starts to change. You start to dematerialize because you're going to go back to your physical body. But if you do the breathings, or like one of you guys said, look at your hands or feet, that can cement you in the dream. You can extend that dream and the consciousness. It's about consciousness, and the consciousness does come from the breathing exercises. And definitely want to talk about that, the death process and stuff before we finish too. But the breathings, do them every night. They say 16 is a super magic number, but 8 is good. And usually the normal person, with me and stuff too, after 3 you're knocked out. But the dreams and psychic powers do start with those breathings. You do them for a month. Do one and notice. And just like going out, but fresh air, everything natural. The breathings will help you to start fasting. And you want to go a day or 24 hours without anything, like from dinner to breakfast. Dinner to dinner. And that will increase this. If you fast for real, just once a day, like from dinner to dinner, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m., you'll be real hungry. But when you look in the mirror, like the girls, they'll look like movie stars. The guys will be really strong and stuff. It cleans you out really good. So the person should fast and breathe. And those physical things will help the spiritual thing 10 times. And add some quartz crystals as a bracelet, like I do. I have a bracelet, and use those under the pillow. Play some sports and just live a balanced life. But through those breathings and the fastings and the spiritual stuff will super increase. Where you'll only begin to concentrate only on God, and it's with God, just thinking about Him is enough to have a psychic after effects, and then or dreaming about him. Like when you go to sleep, you want to think about merging with God. Think about seeing him. Talk about. So if you aim for that highest thing, all the other stuff is automatic, but you won't want it then. There's a lot to know, and the UFO thing is deep. It's a deep thing.
Did you want to go ahead and take time to walk through the death process thing? Because we're running out of time. I'd like to hear that.
I want to hear that
would
too.
Be good.
And I'll be right back. I have to put a cat out, so I'll be back. And you keep going. I'll be right back. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could go through those steps. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good for people to know. So the person, let's see. It starts with the person struggling for life or death. Let's say a heart attack, or usually when people die, respiratory or cardiac failure. It's usually one of those things because you need the air and then the heart. When the person dies, they die to the physical world, but inside themselves, they're still awake. When the person dies and you go up to them, you see that they're dead. Maybe someone got shot, and you say, "Oh my God, he's dead." Inside, at least for maybe 6 minutes. It's been up to 3 days, but usually about 6 minutes, they're still able to be resuscitated. And the emergency rooms are so good that they're bringing 700 people a day back from those kind of things. So the person, it takes a while to die inside. You can look up at the person who thinks that you're dead and hear them and see them, but not be able to move. You will, if it's slow death, say that you know that you're going to die. A sudden death is different. And in a sudden death, the person might think that they're still awake. Say you're walking across the street and you get hit by a car in real life and you die. You might get back up and continue going to the McDonald's where you thought you were going to go until you realize, you look back and see that you're dead. That's the realization of death, when the person happens, because you're not too far away. It's only the length of time between death and reconsciousness after death is 15 to 22 seconds. The same amount of time approximately it takes you to come out of your physical body and regain consciousness. You pop awake. You just pop awake like from a dream. The physical body paralyzes itself. It happens involuntarily. The person can't control it. When the person dies, their body becomes rigor mortis, paralyzation sets in to permit the astral body to come out. It won't come out if you're moving around, and it can't. So the subconscious takes over, paralyzes you, and then the spirit body, in a slow way, it's like maybe 15 seconds, it slowly comes out of the body. It rises up. If you do the breathings, you can literally see it while it's happening. I've done it a lot of times. So body is paralyzed so that spirit body can come out. Spirit body comes out within 15 feet of the person. It's that you regain consciousness. That's the realization of time and space. You realize that I am myself, and I'm somewhere in time and space. You realize that you're awake, but somewhere. When you see your dead body, you realize that you have just died, and you're in the afterlife. And you're still yourself. You retain your personality and your individual consciousness. You know who you are. Then, and there's so much more with the death process, but I want to tell you guys about some of the stages too. Usually after the person dies, in the prototype near death, the realization of time and space, they will come out of their body, realize that I am somewhere alive. Where am I? And they'll look around, and they'll be in another dimensional realm, invisible. They'll see their dead body in the same position where it died. They'll remember, shit, I just died. Like with me, I got stuck in the lake, and I was stuck up in the muck underneath a dock. I had jumped in feet first and died with my knee stuck in the muck. So when I woke up, I saw myself down there, and I realized, oh, my God, I'm dead, because there's my dead body. I remembered I just died. And when you die, especially if you die a slow death, you can remember every detail. There's a certain point when you die that because you're struggling, I got to stay alive. The primal fear sets in, and you can feel the organs shutting down, and you're hoping. And after a while, you realize that death is imminent. I'm going to die. You just know it spiritually. You feel it. You can feel like kidneys shutting down. You can feel, and you're awake, but you're not breathing. But you can see, you can hear, but you cannot move. You can see and hear and think. And the heartbeat gets slower and slower and slower. I think at one point mine was 1:15 seconds. Then with me there was a big boom, and everything went black. And because I've had it's the same thing for out of bodies. About 15 to 22 seconds later, you reawaken outside of your body, usually upward, because it's a spirit body floats up. It's lighter, and you reawaken, see what just happened. You realize that you're awake. You realize you're awake. There is in UFOs and near death, there is a lapse in consciousness where the person just appears somewhere else. They appear, and in dreams too, there is the lapse, and of course out of bodies. And concerned about that lapse of consciousness because a lot happens that we can't see than that we do see. So the person, after they wake up, they are in what scientists call a life review room, where they showed everything they ever did, said, or thought, and the consequences that those thoughts and feelings and actions had on others. You get to experience what you did to the other person from their point of view, and you literally feel it as it's happening. So it's like you're in a room. You cannot see beyond the barriers of that room. You can only see the room. Like if you try to look back, it's foggy. Like you're shown, and you can remember everything you did, riding the tricycle, Christmas, every little flashback. And just like a deck of cards, it's played to you like that, where you can see everything that you did, and your mind sees it and remembers. You feel it too. One screen, everything you did. One screen, everything you said. Another, everything you thought. And so you're being shown the truth about yourself, so to remind you, so that when the next stage, judgment, comes, there'll be no excuses. You were just shown your entire life. And you literally relive it. You feel it. Like once I threw a stone at a kid in summer camp. He did throw it back, but in the near death, I felt I was spiritually in his body and felt the same stone hitting me as though I were him. So they're showing you what you did in your life, because now you're going to be judged. And they don't waste any time. You wake up, it's a life review, here's what you did. And they don't judge you. They just show you and ask if it could have been done another way. And they're just showing you what you did to remind you. Because then you appear in a setting of your own choice, like a young kid may think he sees a grandfather image with a long beard, but you are getting ready to meet God, who will come to you, and he will come to the person in image that they will recognize as God, and you'll feel him fully. And we were always concerned about the extremes of emotion, whether it be primal fear or ecstasy, and there's a lot about that in the second book, but this is a point where the emotions become extreme. First of all, because you're dealing with God. The person's trying to see if they're going to live after death, and here comes the one who gets to make the choice, and he's coming to you as no person could get to God, no matter who he was or how many centuries he lived. So God comes to the person in the way they could recognize him. As God comes, the person in unison begins to rise into the air. And it's not weird, but it's interesting that with me and with others, the person's arms have been outstretched as though they're on a cross. It shows the being's full power. With me, he came from far away, and at one point he was in the dawn sunrise, at another point 12 noon, at another point 45 degrees, and then maybe 50 yards, half a football field from me. The person will experience strong emotions as God approaches them. They will begin to vibrate. Let me get a sip of water real quick. There's a mixture then of primal ecstasy and fear, because the one who can stop your life, the one who you need at that point is right there. And with him, the primary thing, and the thing that will get you in, is if you believe in him, that he is God. If you do, you're automatically in. There are two other questions, but if you believe that he is God, or if you have believed, then you're in, and everything else can be worked out. And he's an easy God, a lot easier than humans that you would have to deal with here. So it's really cool. If you knew he was God, then you're in. And once you're in, then that brings us to the white light. So you have several stages, and they say only 1 in 4 remember anything of their near deaths. And of those memories, a lot is mixed with illusions. Like people, you don't see Elvis, and it's a personal thing where the symbolic too. It's nonverbal, where you're looking and feeling things. I was floating down this a river. You might call it like the river of life, but I was floating above a river in astral form during my near death, and like this little cloud came alongside me, and the cloud had a color. The colors are interesting too in the afterlife, because you feel the colors, like you feel red or brown. So my cloud had a little brown, and it was really like a thought form, some kind of being that was sentient, but that I didn't know what it was, so I just let it be what it was, and it stopped, and I could feel like the sadness of it, and then it went on, and I continued on. But it's a lot of interesting things in the spiritual world that you sometimes just have to allow to happen. And if you keep your emotions under control, that helps a lot. But we're always looking for strong emotional scenes or stages in the near-death. At least I was, because here's a quote: "Human beings were created by the Creator in such a way that ecstasy is the only dependable method of conduct/control for sentient beings." So ecstasy, human beings were created by the Creator in such a way that ecstasy is the only dependable method for conduct or control for sentient beings. Now, ecstasy is also associated with that process of transformation between life and death. And ecstasy, just like nirvana at a certain level. So it's a lot of deep stuff with the near death, but it was mainly a thing of memory.
Quote. Where did you get that quote? That's very profound. Was that
to
you?
I know, thanks. That is pretty. It's not mine, I wish. I have a Jesuit priest who is kind of like an advisor. It was him that said that. He said it once. I never forgot it. But it's the exact truth. And when you hear the truth, it rings true. It sounds right, and it rings true. Here's another quote of his: that dream vision, the things we see while asleep, is the primary method by which human beings experience communication with the Creator. So, it's good. You can learn a lot from people, and more can be learned in ordinary conversation than all the arts and sciences. So it's a lot.
We only have about 6 minutes left, so give you a heads up on time. This has been fascinating.
Okay, let's see. I can see what I can do in a minute or two with the continuing stages after the person meets God. So if the person believes in God, and the person is suspended in midair, like I think there's a Bible quote where it says you shall meet God in the air. But to show his control, and it's a good control, because the exact one you need, whether you're going to heaven or hell, is coming to you. He knows everything you did, and the one who can get you to heaven or send you to hell if you've been bad is now there. And he just showed you what you did. And so there's one God, there's one judgment, there's a resurrection, there's life after death. So you meet God. If you believe you're in, with deathbed conversions, I'm not sure, maybe. But if you die without believing, you might be in a coma-like state, what they call the dark void. You just may never wake up until the final judgment. But if you believe you're in, so you meet God, you're in, then the white lights. The white lights is the preamble to mixing or the marriage where the person mixes in with God. But first the person has to be cleaned and elevated. Even though the person is pretty good and cool with God as a person, they have to be purified and rejuvenated before they can come into his presence, because you are fully altered when you get with him. And the white lights, so in the near-death and life, the lights and the colors of the lights are really important. And the light, like they say, is a blinding light, but it doesn't hurt you to look into it, but you can't see beyond it, and you can't see nothing. But the main thing, and they really don't talk about the lights enough, is the color and the effect. So the white lights, they have the effect of purifying, like with physical handicaps, cancer, and all that, purifying the individual. At the same time, the white light rays elevates the person's mind and consciousness. That's where some of the after effects and powers and stuff come in with the white lights. The whole thing, and all of the paranormal things will elevate you because you'll absorb some of that spiritual matter. But with the near-death and UFO, powerful elevations, and with dreams and haunted houses too, yes, out of bodies. So white lights, they cleanse you, purify you, and elevate you. That's when you start to have the universal consciousness. You'll feel connected with the universe. You'll also see that the universe and the world has like a heartbeat that you can feel. It has like a pulse, and you can hear it. And it matches your exact heartbeat too. So with that Schumann theory and the Earth and the universe is alive, like, and it has like a consciousness that you can interact with, and you interact with it through emotions and intentions and thoughts. But the white lights clean you off. They elevate you to your highest you that you can be, so that you could be fully clean and prepared to meet and mix in with God, which is what every person should actually want, to go back to where they came from. And it's a good feeling. You're naturally drawn there.
Eugene, we have just 1 minute left, so let's.
Okay. Do you guys want to ask any questions?
We'll have to have you back again. Karen dropped off, and so we'll have you back again. It's fascinating. Just tell everybody how they can reach you, your website, your social network, and then we're going to be kicked off the air. So take it away.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'd be glad to come back. We're actually just getting started. If they just put my name in, put my name in, Eugene Braxton, or America's Most Experienced Mystic, they can find me on the internet and Facebook or website, either way, or email too. But just put my name in, or America's Most Experienced Mystic, and definitely, we were just getting started, and there's a lot more.
Just getting started. Well, we will have you
fun.
back for sure, Eugene. It was fun. It's fascinating. And, I have other co-hosts, and each co-host takes it in different directions. But much love and blessings and aloha to everybody.
Thanks a lot.
We'll talk to you soon. Aloha. Goodbye. Goodbye, Eugene. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Janet.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.